The soft hum of computer systems filled the observation center as Dr. Han watched the main display. Her eyes burned from staring at screens for 12 hours straight. The midnight shift was always quiet, but tonight felt different. For years, she had monitored the same frequency out of professional obligation. No one really expected to hear from Pathfinder VI again. The probe had been silent for 48 years, ever since it reached the Kepler 438 system in 2087. Han remembered studying the mission details in university, how the probe was supposed to gather data for 5 years before its power cells depleted. When it went silent immediately upon arrival, everyone assumed it had been destroyed by micrometeors or radiation. Han sipped her cold coffee. The screen in front of her flickered, showing a small anomaly. She leaned forward, thinking it was just another cosmic particle triggering the sensor. But the blip returned, then again, forming a pattern. Her heart began to race. She ran a quick diagnostic. No system errors. The signal was getting stronger. This can't be right, she whispered to herself, fingers flying across the touchscreen to isolate the frequency. The pattern matched perfectly with Pathfinder VI's identification signature. Han's hand trembled as she pressed the communication button. Director Kim, you need to come to observation immediately. Director Kim arrived 15 minutes later, his gray hair uncombed, jacket hastily thrown over pajamas. At 65, he was nearing retirement, but hadn't lost his sharp mind. This better be important, Han. She pointed at the display. It's our frequency, sir. I've confirmed it 3 times. It's Pathfinder VI. It's coming back. Director Kim leaned over the console, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the monitors. The signal was clear now, pulsing steadily. That's not possible. The probe wasn't designed to return. Nevertheless, it's on an approach vector to our solar system, Han replied, showing him the trajectory analysis. And it's moving faster than anything we've ever built. Current velocity indicates it will reach Mars orbit in approximately 73 days. Kim stared at the data, his expression changing from skepticism to wonder. Get me the Defense Council. And wake up Engineer Park. Within hours, the observation center buzzed with activity. Scientists and military personnel crowded around Han's station, watching as more data poured in from deep space monitoring stations around the world. The news had spread throughout the Global Space Agency headquarters like wildfire. By morning, an emergency meeting convened with top officials. Han explained the situation, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. The signal strength keeps increasing, which means it's definitely moving toward us. Based on our calculations, it's traveling at nearly 1/10 the speed of light. That's 50 times faster than our most advanced propulsion systems. Could it be a natural phenomenon mimicking our signal? Asked General Joe, skeptical as always. Engineer Park, a stocky man with perpetually disheveled hair, shook his head. The signature includes specific encrypted identifiers built into Pathfinder VI. It's not a coincidence or a natural phenomenon. It's our probe. Director Kim outlined their plan. We're assembling a team to intercept the probe when it reaches Mars orbit. Dr. Han will lead the scientific analysis, with Engineer Park handling technical recovery. The mission launches in 3 weeks. The preparation period passed in a blur for Han. She barely slept, spending most of her time analyzing the increasing data packets now regularly transmitting from the approaching probe. One night, alone in her lab, she made the breakthrough. Park, come quickly, she called, not caring it was 3 a.m. When he arrived, she showed him what she'd decoded. The initial data packets they received were fragmentary but astounding. Look at this, she said, pointing to a section of code. These aren't random corruptions in the transmission. They're entirely new programming languages. The probe's operating system has been completely rewritten. Park leaned closer, his eyes widening. This architecture, it's nothing like ours. The efficiency is off the charts. The probe hasn't been destroyed as we assumed, Han said quietly. It's been modified, enhanced, repurposed. She brought up another set of images, blurry but unmistakable. The external structure of Pathfinder VI had changed. New components had been added, strange appendages and unfamiliar technology now adorned what had once been a simple exploration vehicle. "Something found our probe out there in the darkness between stars," Han whispered. "Something intelligent. Something with technology far beyond our own. And now it's sending the probe back to us." Park finished her thought. Han nodded, pointing to the last decoded fragment, a repeating pattern they hadn't been able to interpret until now. "It's a message," she said. "Whatever found our probe has sent it home to deliver a message." Director Kim was notified immediately. Security protocols were elevated. As dawn broke over the horizon, humanity faced the reality that they were no longer alone in the universe, and something out there had noticed them. The intercept vessel Morning Star approached the coordinates where Pathfinder VI waited in Mars orbit. Through the viewport, Engineer Park could see only a small dot against the red planet's surface. As they drew closer, the dot grew larger, and Park felt his mouth go dry. "That's not our probe anymore," Park whispered as the object came into clear view. What had once been a modest exploration vehicle, barely 3 meters long, was now a gleaming construction nearly 10 times its original size. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, pulsing with an inner light that defied explanation. The original probe looked like it had been absorbed into this new structure, visible only as a small core within the larger framework. Dr. Han stood beside him, her face pale in the blue light of the ship's interior. "It's beautiful," she said softly. Captain Sun guided their vessel into a matching orbit, keeping a safe distance of 500 meters. "Beginning preliminary scans," she announced, her voice steady despite the tension in the command module. Lee, the materials specialist, hunched over his console as data streamed in. His fingers moved rapidly across the interface, running analysis after analysis. After several minutes, he looked up, his expression troubled. "The metallurgical analysis doesn't match any known element," said Lee. "The outer shell contains compounds that shouldn't be stable. And these components, they're generating a field that appears to bend space-time itself." Director Kim's voice crackled over the comm from Earth Command. "What are you saying, Lee?" Lee took a deep breath. "I'm saying this probe traveled faster than light to get back to us. Something rebuilt it, gave it technology we can't comprehend, and sent it home with a purpose." The command module fell silent. Faster-than-light travel had been a theoretical possibility for decades, but no human had managed to create even a working prototype. "We need to establish a direct connection," Han said, breaking the silence. "I want to access its memory banks before we bring it aboard." Captain Sun looked uncertain. "Is that safe?" "We have isolation protocols in place," Park assured her. "We can create a one-way data stream through our quantum-shielded systems." After receiving clearance from Earth Command, they extended a communication probe toward Pathfinder VI. To their surprise, the transformed probe responded immediately, establishing a connection on its own terms. "It's cooperating," Park said, watching in amazement as data began flowing into their secure servers. Han leaned over the main console as information appeared on screen. "These aren't just technical specifications. There's a message embedded in the code." The team worked through the night, Earth time, decoding and translating the vast amounts of information. As morning approached, Han called everyone to the command module. "We've found something," she said, her voice tight with excitement. The probe's memory banks contain fragments of information about the species that modified it. They call themselves the Ethereals. She displayed images on the main screen, beings composed of shifting light patterns with only vague humanoid shapes. They seem to exist partially in another dimension, their forms never quite solid. According to what we've translated, the Ethereals discovered Pathfinder VI drifting through their star system approximately 20 light-years from its intended destination, Han explained. They were able to extract its mission parameters and origin point. Park studied the images with fascination. Why would they send it back to us with all this new technology? That's where it gets interesting, Han replied. She brought up a new set of files. According to this data, the ethereals have been watching Earth for centuries. They'd never imagined we would develop space travel. They thought we were primitive. Why? Asked Park. Han looked up, her expression a mixture of awe and disbelief. Because they believe we're descended from an ancient race they thought was extinct, a race they've been searching for across the galaxy. Lee snorted. That's ridiculous. We evolved on Earth. We have fossil records going back millions of years. Yes, but look at this, Han said, displaying a genetic comparison chart. The ethereals compared our DNA, extracted from the probe's biological sample storage, with records in their database. The similarities are significant. The chart showed matching patterns between human genetic markers and an unknown genome labeled Precursor Template Alpha. They believe we're some kind of lost colony, Han continued. According to their historical records, a highly advanced species called the Precursors dominated this part of the galaxy billions of years ago. Then they vanished suddenly, leaving only ruins and technology behind. Captain Sun frowned. If these ethereals have been watching us for centuries, why contact us now? Because of Pathfinder VI, Park realized. Our probe reaching their system proved we had achieved a certain level of technological development. Han nodded. The ethereals believe the precursors seeded Earth with life, possibly as an experiment or colony. Then something happened, a war, a plague, or some cosmic disaster that cut Earth off from the rest of precursor civilization. And they think we're what? The descendants of these precursors who got stranded on Earth and had to start over? Lee asked skeptically. Essentially, yes, Han confirmed. But there's more. The ethereals aren't the only advanced species out there. They're part of a larger community, and not everyone is happy about finding potential precursor descendants. Captain Sun's communicator chimed. Earth Command wants an update and risk assessment before we proceed with retrieval operations. Han looked at the transformed probe through the viewport. Tell them we've made first contact with an advanced alien civilization. Tell them they rebuilt our probe with faster-than-light technology as a gesture of greeting. And tell them. She paused, considering her next words carefully. Tell them we may not be from Earth originally. Tell them we might be the children of the stars after all. The Great Hall of the United Earth Government headquarters in New Seoul buzzed with whispers. 50 of the most powerful people on the planet sat around a massive oval table. Military leaders in crisp uniforms sat beside scientists in lab coats. Government officials looked uncomfortable in their formal attire as they shifted in their seats. At the front of the room, Dr. Han stood beside a large display screen. Dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept properly in days. She took a deep breath and pressed a button on her tablet. The final slide of her presentation appeared on the screen. The conference room fell silent as Han finished presenting the translated data to the assembled scientists and government officials. To summarize, she said, her voice steady despite her fatigue, the ethereals believe humans are direct descendants of an ancient species called the Precursors. These precursors were an advanced civilization that seeded life throughout the galaxy billions of years ago. Earth was one of their experimental worlds, but they were forced to abandon it during some kind of cosmic catastrophe. She paused to let the information sink in. The silence in the room felt heavy. That's preposterous, snapped Professor Ba, his face turning red. As the head of the World Biology Institute, he had devoted his life to studying Earth's evolutionary history. We evolved on Earth. We have the fossil record to prove it. From single-celled organisms to fish to mammals to primates. It's all there in the rocks. Several others nodded in agreement. Han had expected this reaction. Engineer Park stepped forward. Unlike Han, he seemed energized by their discoveries. His eyes were bright with excitement. The probe contains genetic markers comparing human DNA with precursor samples, Park said. The matches. undeniable. He tapped his own tablet, and the large screen changed. A holographic star map projected into the center of the room, floating above the table. Tiny points of light glowed in different colors. These are the locations of other precursor worlds, Park explained, pointing to red dots scattered across the map. Some still have functioning technology, others are ruins. But according to the ethereals, all were abandoned at the same time, roughly 2 billion years ago. General Yu stood up, his face stern. How do we know this isn't some kind of trick? Maybe these ethereals want something from us. Maybe they're testing us or preparing for invasion. Han nodded. That's a fair concern, General. We've considered that possibility. But the technology they've given us is real. We've been studying it for 3 weeks now. The knowledge alone is worth decades of research. Are we supposed to believe this? Asked Minister Choi, representing the United Earth government. Her voice carried the weight of authority. As the highest-ranking official present, her opinion would shape humanity's response. That we're space aliens who forgot who we were. I understand your skepticism, Han replied. But consider the evidence. The technology that brought this probe back to us is real. We've confirmed it generates a localized warp field unlike anything in our theoretical models. Whether we accept their story about our origins or not, the ethereals clearly possess advanced knowledge and capabilities. Dr. Song, a geneticist from the Asian Science Consortium, raised her hand. I've reviewed the genetic data. The similarities between our DNA and these supposed precursor samples are striking. But that doesn't necessarily mean direct descent. It could be convergent evolution or even contamination of the samples. Park nodded respectfully but countered. The patterns match too perfectly for coincidence. And look at this. He zoomed in on a section of genetic code on the screen. This sequence serves no apparent evolutionary purpose in humans. Scientists have called it junk DNA for centuries. But when activated by certain frequencies, it appears to unlock photonic reactions in our cells. Basically, it's dormant technology built into our genetic code. The room erupted in arguments. Some scientists shouted questions while others dismissed the findings entirely. Military officials huddled together, whispering urgently about security implications. Minister Choi raised her hand for silence. What do the ethereals want from us? Have they made any demands or requests? Han shook her head. No demands. They present this information as a gift, a revelation of our true heritage. They say they're excited to welcome humanity back to the galactic community. If we're so special, why didn't they contact us earlier? Asked Admiral Kang. According to their messages, they've been observing us for centuries, waiting for us to reach a certain technological threshold. Han explained. Sending Pathfinder VII into deep space was apparently that threshold. Professor Ba remained unconvinced. This goes against everything we know about human evolution. Or, Park suggested gently, it fills in gaps we've never been able to explain. The sudden jump in human brain development. The missing link fossils we've never found. Our unusual adaptation to tool use compared to other Earth species. As the debate continued, the tension in the room grew. Outside, the media waited for official word on the mysterious probe that had returned from deep space. Rumors had already spread despite security measures. In a secure laboratory 20 floors below the conference room, the modified Pathfinder VI sat in a containment field. Its strange geometric patterns continued to pulse with inner light. Unnoticed by the scientists monitoring it, a new sequence had begun. The probe had started transmitting again, this time, directly to a location deep in interstellar space. The signal contained everything it had observed since returning to Earth: human responses, defense capabilities, scientific understanding, and most importantly, the coordinates of every major population center on the planet. Across the vast emptiness between stars, something was listening, and it was coming. The underground facility beneath New Seoul hummed with activity. 3 weeks had passed since the modified probe had begun its strange new transmissions. Scientists and military personnel rushed through corridors, their faces tense. Something big was happening. In the central laboratory, Engineer Park stood before a device salvaged from the probe. It looked like a small pyramid made of black glass. Strange symbols glowed along its edges. 20 high-ranking officials watched from behind a safety barrier. "They're calling it a quantum entanglement communicator," Park explained as they gathered around the newly activated device. "It allows instantaneous communication across any distance." Dr. Han looked skeptical. "That violates several laws of physics." "So does faster-than-light travel," Park replied with a small smile. "Yet our probe returned using exactly that technology." He pressed his palm against the pyramid surface. The black glass warmed under his touch, then began to glow from within. The air above it shimmered like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The holographic display flickered, then stabilized, showing a being unlike anything they had ever seen. Its form was vaguely humanoid but composed of shifting patterns of light. Where a human would have eyes, this being had swirling vortices of blue energy. Its body constantly moved and changed, never staying in one configuration. The officials gasped. General Yu reached for his sidearm instinctively before Minister Choi placed a restraining hand on his arm. "We greet the children of the precursors," the being said in perfectly translated speech. Its voice sounded like many voices speaking in perfect harmony. "I am emissary of the Galactic Coalition. We have waited long for this moment." The room fell silent. No one had expected direct contact so soon. Dr. Han, chosen as humanity's reluctant ambassador after her work with the probe, stepped forward. Her heart pounded in her chest, but her voice remained steady. "We are honored to meet you, emissary. We have many questions." "As do we," the light being replied. "Your emergence was unexpected. Most precursor seed worlds were destroyed in the Great Collapse. Finding your kind alive and advancing technologically is most unusual." Over the following days, the communication sessions continued. Each lasted exactly 1 Earth hour. The emissary was patient with human questions, answering with what seemed like genuine interest in establishing relations. They learned the ethereals were part of a coalition of 17 species that had been searching for precursor descendants for millennia. The revelation of humanity's existence had caused a political crisis within the coalition. "Some view you as a threat," the emissary explained during the 5th communication session. The gathered officials shifted uncomfortably at these words. The precursors were known for their technological prowess and their warrior culture. They conquered many worlds before establishing the peace. "Others see you as rightful inheritors of the precursor legacy." "And which are you?" Han asked, leaning forward. The light patterns of the emissary swirled more rapidly, perhaps indicating emotion. "I believe in destiny," the emissary replied. "But I must warn you, our coalition is engaged in a cold war with another alliance of species. Your emergence changes the balance of power. You must decide whether to join us or remain independent. Both paths carry risks." Han glanced at Minister Choi, who gave a subtle nod. "We need time to consider such important matters. Humanity has only just learned we're not alone in the universe." "Time is a luxury you may not have," the emissary said. "News of your existence spreads across the galactic communication networks. The forgotten children returned at last. Many will come to see for themselves." The warning proved prophetic. Within days, Earth's long-range sensors detected anomalies at the edge of the solar system. Strange readings appeared near Neptune's orbit, then more near the asteroid belt. As if to emphasize the emissary's point, coalition scout ships began appearing at the edges of the solar system. Some came as observers, others as protectors, and still others with more ominous intentions. The first visual confirmation came from the Mars outpost. The images showed sleek vessels of various designs. Some looked organic, with curves and flowing lines. Others were angular and metallic. All were clearly more advanced than anything humans had built. "They're not attacking," General Yu noted during an emergency meeting. But they're not asking permission either. They're just watching. Minister Choi stood at the window of the orbital conference room, looking down at Earth. How many ships are there now? 27 confirmed, Admiral Kang replied. From at least 5 different species, based on design variations. Some are staying at the system's edge. Others are moving closer. Park entered the room, his face pale. We've received a message from a new contact. They're not part of the coalition. They call themselves the Sentinel Compact. He activated a display showing a reptilian being with iridescent scales and 4 eyes. Its message was brief and cold. The precursor strain must be contained. For the safety of all. Han felt a chill run down her spine. What does contained mean? No one answered. They didn't need to. That evening, Han met again with the ethereal emissary. We need your help, she said bluntly. There are ships in our system we can't defend against. The situation grows complex, the emissary acknowledged. Some coalition members have sent protection. Others observe only. The Sentinel Compact vessels are concerning. What do they want? The Compact fears precursor technology. In their history, your ancestors conquered their worlds. They believe you will do the same if given the chance. Han rubbed her temples. We just want to survive. We're not conquerors. Perhaps not yet. The emissary's light patterns formed what might have been a smile. But your potential is why both sides seek you. The precursors left many secrets, vaults of knowledge and power scattered across the galaxy. If you could access them, we could defend ourselves, Han finished. Or become what the Compact fears, the emissary countered. The choice would be yours. That is why they wish to prevent you from making it. Outside Earth's atmosphere, silent ships gathered. A diplomatic crisis billions of years in the making had begun, and humanity found itself at the center of a conflict it never knew existed. The tension in the laboratory was thick enough to cut with a knife. 4 alien ships had entered Earth orbit in the last hour alone. Military forces worldwide stood at their highest alert level. But Han and Park barely noticed any of this as they worked on the transformed probe. The probe's central core began to pulse with new energy as Han and Park worked to decipher its final secrets. The patterns were changing, growing more complex by the minute. Something's happening, Han said, stepping back from the containment field. The black pyramid communicator they had extracted earlier began to resonate with the probe. Waves of energy passed between them, creating strange harmonic patterns in the air. It's some kind of artificial intelligence, Park said, his eyes wide with wonder. It's been dormant all this time, waiting for the right moment to activate. A holographic interface coalesced into a humanoid figure of indeterminate gender, its features strangely familiar yet alien. It stood 2 meters tall, glowing with soft blue light. Its face looked almost human, but with subtle differences that made it feel ancient and powerful. I am Guardian, it announced. Its voice was deep and melodic, keeper of the precursor legacy. I have waited 63 million years for the children to return to the stars. Han stepped forward. Are you saying we are these children? Yes, Guardian replied. Your kind were once the greatest civilization this galaxy has known. Earth was a research world where we explored evolutionary paths. When the great enemy came, all colonies were abandoned in our retreat. Guardian confirmed what the ethereals had claimed. Humanity was indeed descended from the precursors. But there was more. The AI unlocked genetic memories buried deep within human DNA, accessible only through a specialized device it helped them construct. The device looked like a simple metal headband. When Han placed it on her head, her mind exploded with images and knowledge from ancestors long dead. She saw great cities spanning entire planets. She felt the thrill of traveling between stars in mere days. She experienced memories of a civilization at its peak. When she removed the band, tears streamed down her face. There is a vault, Han said after her first session with the memory device. Her voice trembled with excitement. Hidden within the asteroid belt, it contains technology that could advance us centuries overnight. Park tried the device next. When he removed it, his hand shook. I saw how to get there. I saw the defenses and how to bypass them. We need to go now, before it's too late. Minister Choi wasn't easily convinced. These aliens are fighting over us as we speak. How do we know this isn't a trap? The genetic memories cannot lie, Guardian explained. They are part of who you are. The vault was hidden to protect you until you were ready. But they weren't the only ones who knew about the vault. Coalition forces arrived in greater numbers, some offering to help humanity claim their heritage, others determined to prevent access to such powerful technology. The Sentinel compact ships took up aggressive positions near Mars. They broadcast a simple message to Earth: surrender the probe and its technologies, or we will be forced to take action. Earth had 1 week to decide. Guardian spoke privately to Han. If you reach the vault before they act, you can protect your world. The choice must be made now. In a daring mission that united Earth's nations for the first time in history, Han and Park led a team to the hidden precursor vault. 3 ships left Earth under cover of darkness, using stolen alien technology to mask their energy signatures. As they approached the asteroid belt, coalition factions fought overhead. Beams of energy cut through space. Ships exploded in silent bursts of light as humans raced to claim their birthright. Their small vessel found the hidden asteroid, a rock that looked ordinary except for faint geometric patterns visible only at certain angles. They landed in a small crater and made their way to a seamless door built into the rock face. The vault has been waiting for precursor DNA to activate it, Guardian explained through a communication link. Only a true descendant can open it. Han placed her palm against the cold stone. Nothing happened for several seconds. Then the rock began to glow with inner light. A seam appeared, widening into a doorway. The team stepped through into a vast chamber that seemed too large to fit inside the asteroid. Inside the vault, Han placed her hand on an ancient console. Recognition software confirmed her genetic heritage, activating defense systems that drove away the hostile coalition forces. Outside, a massive energy shield expanded from the asteroid, pushing back all ships in the vicinity. The vault hummed with power as long-dormant systems came online. Data streams filled the air with glowing symbols. Knowledge from a civilization at its peak began downloading into Earth's networks. What happens now? Park asked as they stood amidst technology beyond their comprehension. Devices floated in the air, their purpose unknown but their power undeniable. Han looked at the star map displaying thousands of worlds once inhabited by humans. Some dots glowed brightly, indicating active colonies. Others were dim, showing lost outposts or ruins. Now we reclaim our place among the stars, she said, her voice filled with newfound confidence. We find our lost cousins. We rebuild what was lost. The probe that had started this journey had completed its mission. It had always been meant to bring humanity back to its rightful place in the galaxy. Guardian had waited patiently for humans to reach a level where they could understand their heritage. And as the vault's beacon activated, sending signals to distant stars, they realized this wasn't an ending. It was humanity's true beginning. Above Earth, the hostile ships began to retreat. The ethereal emissary sent one final message: "Welcome back to the stars, children of the precursors. The galaxy has missed you." Han looked out at the star-filled sky visible through the vault's transparent ceiling. For the first time, those distant points of light didn't feel cold and unreachable. They felt like home.